Good morning. Thank each of you for joining us today. Today we stand united to reaffirm the truth that gun violence prevention isn't just about guns. With that truth, we are here to share an impactful step towards the city's healing and safety. The Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery was established in 2022 with a clear mission to address gun violence at its roots by fostering collaborations through government, businesses, universities, and most importantly, the community. We recognize that community violence isn't just about gun violence either. It's about the people of Jackson, Mississippi. It's about ensuring access to housing, mental health resources, digital equity, and the tools that the community need to thrive. Today, we are proud to share how we're turning this vision into action. We are very thrilled to announce that the Office of Violence Prevention has awarded 3 community partners with grants to expand their capacity and programming to reduce the gun violence situation in Jackson. These organizations are the backbone of our communities, and we stand with them. And they are Strong Arms of Mississippi, Operation Good, and Living with Purpose. By expanding their capacity, we invest in proven solutions to stop violence in the city before it starts. But we are not stopping there. Today marks the launch of 100 Days of Action, a citywide mobilization to drastically reduce gun violence through urgency, collaboration, and compassion. Over the next 100 days, we will scale community-based violence intervention programs to de-escalate conflict and connect high-risk individuals with support and resources. We will expand wraparound services for survivors and families impacted by gun violence. We will target high-risk areas with outreach, resources, community engagement, and partnerships to disrupt those cycles of harm. And we will collaborate across sectors, that's public health, law enforcement, schools, and advocates, to implement a public health approach to violence prevention. This initiative is about action, not just awareness. It's about meeting the moment with both urgency and vision. We are deploying immediate interventions while laying the groundwork for long-term change. We cannot, and I repeat, we cannot police and punish our way out of crime prevention. Research has consistently shown that cities embracing public health strategies such as violence interruptions, credible messengers, diversion, youth mentorship, and substance use treatment see a more sustainable decline in violence than those relying solely on punitive measures. By shifting the focus from punishment to prevention, we can create a safer Jackson for everyone. So to the people of Jackson, this is your work as much as it is ours. Over these next 100 days, we will host town halls, community engagement events, resource fairs, volunteer drives, and we need your voice, your passion, and your support. Gun violence is not inevitable for Jackson. Together we can build a Jackson where every neighborhood is safe, every neighborhood thrives, and everyone has hope for our city. We have work to do, so let's get to it.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us as we stand together in order to try to eradicate gun violence and, more importantly, harm within our city. Here are the facts. While we have seen 3 years of decline in overall crime with our city, while our police department, we've given them resources, we've given them 2 raises within the last 2 budget cycles. We've given them new equipment and new technology, and we've made certain that we arm them with the tools to do their job. And our police department has one of the highest crime solvability rates in the United States. the reality is while they are solving crime, crime is still taking place because, as Ms. Coleman said, you can't arrest yourself out of the problem. If you arrest somebody at 5 o'clock and if you've done nothing to affect the conditions that led them out there on the first place, then they will be there at 6 o'clock, right? And so what we're doing right now are preparing holistic solutions for the community so that we understand that by the time the police get involved, it has already gone wrong. And so this is working within community to ensure that we have credible messengers, to ensure that we're addressing the conditions, again, like I said, that led to crime. If the focus is on the punitive measures, then I think that we're not looking at this challenge from a complete standpoint. We have a punitive, or are our goals to stop the harm? I would submit to you that our primary goal is to stop the harm that is taking place within community. And so I want to thank the individuals that stand behind me for their hard work, commitment, and dedication, the work that has already been going on. While we're happy that you stand here with us today, I have been with them in Judge Court, outside of Judge Hicks' courtroom, talking about the success in our youth detention center with these programs. I have been with them at graduations where they have brought young people in order to bring them in a program to talk about not only issues of anger and conflict, but give them the tools and the resources and the knowledge and understanding of how they can deal with those conflicts in a much more productive way. In a limited block radius where they've had nearly more than almost half of a year of no gun violence within one of the areas that had some of the most pronounced gun violence prior to their work. So again, not only do we have measurable success in terms of the work that they've already done within their footprint, we have measurable success based on these health-based analysis of how we deal with gun violence all across the country. And so I'm excited detaining young people being out past curfew. Let's talk about how we identify the reasons that they are out past curfew, giving them psychiatrists and giving them social workers that are able to ascertain and determine why they were out there in the first place, instead of setting them up for a cycle where they're in a system that we all recognize to be broken. So with that, I thank you for being here. I want to recognize, even though she's on the other side of the cameras and I understand she does not want to speak, but I want to recognize good work. So I want to recognize Judge Carlin Hicks, who has been doing good work and is standing with us today as we talk about this program moving forward, to have 100 days of peace, to work alongside these community groups to make certain that we stop the harm that is taking place within the community. Thank you.
We would like at this time to recognize the 3 agencies, Strong Arms of Mississippi, Living with Purpose, and Operation Good will all be presented with a check for $50,000 each to continue the great work that they are doing in the community to reduce the likelihood of gun violence.
All right. Y'all come stand next to me.
And this is just a little bit to expand the work that they are already doing to support the city. Again, from the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, we could not do this work without the help, support of these agencies and the understanding that the work that they are doing is holistic and it is a way to prevent crime in our city.
If I could. I want to take an opportunity, of course, not only to thank these groups that are doing the work on the ground, and as Keisha said, it's $50,000 each, to each one of these groups. I want to thank some of those that have contributed towards this, like Wells Fargo Bank, the National League of Cities, that have contributed some of the seed funding so that we could establish the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. What you see here is a collection of individuals, not only these organizations, but we've been working with people within the healthcare industry because they understand that when we see trauma, when we see people arrive at the hospitals, not only do they have members who work at our hospitals that live within the community and have a vested interest in its safety and seeing violence reduced. In terms of their bottom line, most people who show up with a gunshot wound don't show up because they have health care or have insurance. They show up because they have a problem. And so that is why we're working with them, because we understand that they have a vested interest in seeing the harm decrease. And so they've been coming to meetings. We've had people who work as EMTs and also work as physicians that have been meeting with our Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery as well. And so I just wanted to recognize their hard work and input in this process. Thank you. Want to go? So I guess at this point in time, we'll open it for any questions that you have. Come on up here, Keisha. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, where is all of this money coming from that these organizations have been awarded, and how are they going to be able to effectively put it to use to reduce violence in the next 100 days?
So first, the answer to your first question is, where is this money coming from? I said that in my statement of gratitude. This comes from Wells Fargo Bank and the National League of Cities. They gave the seed money for the city of Jackson in order to start this Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. And we chose to not only create this in order to act as a liaison, an umbrella, if you will, where we see good work taking place in the community, but it could happen in a better orchestrated or cohesive fashion. That is what our aim is. We are the bridge builder as the city of Jackson, so that we could connect residents who want or know of harm that's taking place in their community to these organizations that are doing this work. Their work has started long ago, but we'll tell you how it will continue. Their work has been in engaging some of the most high-risk individuals, right? Making sure that they establish relationships, understand what conflicts are taking place. Sometimes we talk about stopping the harm as if it's a moment that we parachute in and we tell people, hey, you can go to jail for that, right? The reality is we got young people who are committing crimes not because they don't know that there are penalties to it, right? Because there are other factors at play. There are other issues that we're not addressing, that they are making the decision that this is something that I feel that I can't avoid, right? And so we have to present alternative options to them if we want to make the case that there are ways to avoid that harm. So I want to step aside so Keisha can speak to the work that is going on over the next 100 days further.
So yes, over the next 100 days, what we want to do is change the narrative about violence and violence prevention in Jackson, particularly with our youth. We want to take a holistic approach. That means mentorship, that means awareness, and that means action and engagement. So we will be setting up different sites in the most high-risk areas of the city. Usually when we talk about violence prevention, it's an umbrella effect, and we want to cover it in a cookie-cutter manner. But what we're doing is we are targeting the areas, the youth of potential shooters and people who are potentially to be shot. And we're wanting to reach out to those through events, through engagement, through mentorships, and through other options. We want them to know that Jackson is a city that cares. And by showing that over the next 100 days of action, it is to stay in the public's eye and inundate the city, not only with the message that violence is not inevitable, but look for the color orange, because the color orange represents gun violence awareness and prevention. And so over the next 100 days and beyond, not only are you going to be involved in and engaging, but you're going to see a sea of orange across the city that shows we are here for our youth, not just to punish, not just to penalize, but also to help and build hope.
I just have a question about the grant. You said it's $50,000 for each group.
Yes.
Is that going to be just for the 100 days?
No, it is to help. The $50,000 per group is to help build capacity, strengthen infrastructure, and support the programming that they already have in place.
Another question. Mayor, you mentioned other issues. Are you, over these 100 days, will you be talking to like gang members and gangs in the communities and targeting them, seeing how you can build a relationship with them in terms of youth? Because a lot of the youth, they grow up and they see, that's what they see, and how will you?
Absolutely. We want to be very clear. This 100 days of action and 100 days of peace is not geared towards what we call the bubble kids, the kids who are out here that straddling the fence. It's geared towards those youth and those communities that are at the highest risk. So yes, we are engaging gang members, we are engaging cliques, we are engaging affiliates, we are engaging anyone who's at high risk of shooting a gun or being shot. And we also want to engage the families, because we understand healing and hope does not just stop or start with the individual. It starts with the individual, spreads to the family, the community, and then systemic policies that affects what happens in the city.
Given that so much of the violence in Jackson is random, it's people who know each other, how big of a challenge is it going to be for you to, as you say, target people who are potentially going to commit crimes or be victims of crime?
The way we're going to target that is through data. Data shows us that even though crime and gun violence is high in Jackson, it's a small percentage of people that's committing the violence. And so we are going to target that small population of people who are actually toting the guns and being on the other side of the gun, and try to get them into these mentorship programs, community engagement again, and educate them that it's not about being punitive and punishing, but it's about hope and healing. And we want to give hope not just to the youth that we're serving, but to the city of Jackson. If they see that there is a consistent and aggressive effort to not just end the violence, but to bring hope and resilience to the city, we feel that the collaboration will increase, not just with our community partners, but with our community as a whole.
What's your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Keisha Coleman, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. KEISHA.
Let me share something else right quick. Let me say this to that last question. I want it to be known that typically before a young person or anybody is involved in some act of harm, there are indicators that let us know that they may be at a breaking point or on the fringes. Yes, Ross, you're absolutely correct that the majority of the violence, in fact, we have a 100% solvability rate so far this year in terms of the violence that we've seen. That's because every single violent act has been interpersonal, right? But we need to be able to identify whether someone is having a mental health challenge, whether someone is in conflict, and so that's not the job of the police, right? That's the issue. We're asking our officers to be psychiatrists. We're asking them to be detectives at the same time. We're asking them to have a skill set that is not only not possible, but far too complex. And so we want people to establish relationships. That's about saying, listen, young person, I know what you're dealing with because I've experienced it. I know what you're dealing with because I've made bad choices. I know what you're dealing with because I've fallen victim to that. I threaten you, and you know that you feel that you have to keep a gun because it is about saving your own life. And so we are deploying people with actual knowledge and experience in this process. For those that may be questioning, why now, I want to be clear. As Keisha said, we established this office 2 years ago. I want to be clear that we've been present when they've been doing work within these organizations and had graduations of young people who have gone through the detention process, and they've given them tools and worked with them. I want to be clear that we've shown up when they've been passing out food in the community. I want to be clear that these are some of the same people that when we had issues with water, they were the first ones to step up to distribute that. So I want to let you know that this isn't just happening, in a moment, right? This isn't work for a moment. This is a movement that we have to all get behind to work. Let me do this because it is a little warm out here, and I want to give opportunity if you would like to talk to some of these organizations. We know that we had, and I recognized this earlier, we know that we had a Hinds County deputy that was recently killed in the line of fire. He was a former JPD officer and also an award-winning JPD officer. So I want to close this particular press conference with a moment of silence. Thank you.